Hi, my name is Andy Tsang, and here is the technical model for the Snatch. Okay, so I have split the Snatch into different phases. These are the start position, the first pull, the transition, the second pull or triple extension, the pull under and catch, and then it's followed by recovery. First of all, we need to determine our start position, and two of the factors that we're going to have to determine before we get into the start position is our foot width and our hand width. The best way to get an athlete to determine what foot position is optimal is to get the athlete to do a series of vertical jumps. By getting the athlete to memorise how they jumped off the floor, that will then allow the athlete to know what is their most optimal pulling position based on the athlete's anthropometrics. From there, we then want to determine the athlete's hand width in which they would utilise for the snatch. How they would do this would be to get the athlete to pick the bar up and move his hand along the line of the bar until the bar sits into the crease of the athlete's hips. The reason for doing this is because the bar should, in theory, end up at the hip position for the second pull, and that is where the athlete produces the most power to propulse the bar overhead. So by using this method to determine our hand width, it will then allow us to take the most efficient position for us to get the bar as close to the second pull position as we can. Once we have determined our hand width as well as feet width, we can then use these two widths to get into our start position. We then want to set up on the bar for our start position by adopting this hand width and the feet width that we had just determined. From there, we want to come down to the bar. The back should be straight and maintaining the lumbar curve. The thoracic should be extended and tight. The bar should be close to the shins as possible. The bar should be directly above the midfoot, and the hips should be higher than the knees. The shoulders should be in front of the bar, and the eyes should be looking out with the head up. The shoulders should be fixed, as in the scapula should be fixed and the chest being high. The weight distribution should be through the midfoot, and in terms of grip, ideally we want to be taking a hook grip, and it should be tight with the arms relaxed. The reason for using a hook grip is that it would allow the athlete to maintain its grip on the bar, but to reduce the amount of tension that the athlete would have in his arms, and therefore have more control of the bar as it is getting moved through the positions of the pull. The elbows should also be facing out along the line of the bar. Once we have determined our start position, we then want to move the bar through the first pull. We achieve this by getting the athlete to drive forcefully through the floor to break inertia. As the bar moves, the knees will extend and the hips should move back. The angle of the torso in the first pull should remain constant throughout. The weight distribution through the feet will also then move from the midfoot towards the rear of the foot. The lumbar curve should be kept constant, as well as maintaining thoracic extension throughout the lift. The chest should be high. Elbows should be pointing out along the line of the bar. The athlete's head should still be up, with the eyes looking forward. The grip should still remain tight whilst keeping the arms relaxed, and as the knee extends, the bar should start to travel up the athlete's shin. At the end of the first pull, the bar should be above the knee, with the knee slightly flexed and the shoulders in front of the bar. In this position, the weight distribution would also be through the heel. The back position, the torso angle, as well as the elbows pointing out along the line of the bar, and the grip should all be maintained throughout and remain the same. So at the end of the first pull, we then move into the transition phase. This is also known as the double knee bend, and the purpose of this is once the athlete has moved his knees out of the way during the first pull, is to then adopt the most optimal position to propulse the bar overhead and during the second pull. In order to get to this position, we have to go through the transition phase. How we achieve this is that the athlete then begins to extend his hips and move forwards. The weight distribution through the foot begins to move from the heel of the foot back towards the mid-foot. And the knees will then begin to move forwards from being behind the bar to in front of the bar. As the knees move forward, the degree of flexion increases rapidly during this time. At the end of the transition phase, the weight distribution now should be through the mid-foot with the feet feeling balanced. The shoulders should be in line or either slightly in front or slightly behind the bar, depending on the athlete's leverages. The bar should be still in contact with the thighs, the knees should be flexed, the hips should be flexed, and the arms should be athletically straight with the elbows pointing out along the line of the bar, maintaining the hook grip. Eyes should be forward with the head up, and the rigidity of the back should have been remained throughout. At the end of the transition phase, we then move into our second pull. We achieve this by violently extending and driving hard into the floor with our feet, while simultaneously extending the hips and the knees. We then extend fully onto the balls of the feet and this is what is typically known as triple extension. At the end of the second pull is where we are no longer driving force into the floor to propel the bar upwards, and usually this is often determined by the point at which the bar is no longer travelling up or when the elbows start to bend. From there, we then actively pull ourselves under the bar to catch and receive. As we pull under the bar going into rapid flexion, we then also open our feet out slightly to take up a more biomechanically advantageous position to receive and catch the bar. This will allow us to be more stable and also to get our hips in between our knees so that we can get a more upright torso angle. As we catch the bar, it should be received in an overhead squat position with the feet firmly planted on the floor, with the weight distributed evenly through the foot. The elbows should be locked, the spine should be straight with the chest up, and the eyes looking forward with the head up also. The bar should be also directly above our midfoot in order to maintain stability. Through there we then move into a recovery phase, and we achieve this by extending and driving into the floor. As we push through the floor, our hips and our knees will begin to we want to keep the bar up directly above our midfoot and also the crown of our head to maintain stability as we are extending up. The chest should remain up, the head should also remain up, and we want to maintain our back rigidity throughout.